Hi Elise, this is Donnie. I'm going to give this quick video tutorial. This will be the first one. Hopefully this will be the first one you'll watch. This is just an overview of the WordPress backend process of how to update the website. This is going to be primarily focused around what WordPress refers to as the dashboard, and you'll see that listed here as well as up here. But this is the dashboard. You'll have been provided a login ID on how to get into this part of your website. Right now we're logged under our account, but you will have that process set up. So let me just kind of walk you through this. This tutorial will primarily focus on things that you will use and things that you won't use, and things that you shouldn't touch and things that you should. So we'll kind of flush this out as we go along, and we still got some updates we got to make. We've got to update this section here, and we'll do all that in a second. Okay, so let's move on, and so let's talk about the dashboard. First off, I want to start up here under this Right Now section. Now, you got to keep in mind, too, this dashboard, this is not the way your dashboard looks, and another WordPress site looks differently. Every WordPress site looks just like this. Some people use a lot more of this stuff than what we will use for updating the Pantego website. So this is just a standard thing. This right now, it's kind of a summary. It shows you how many total pages. Categories is something that we'll look at a little later related to blogs. Talks about what theme and version and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. I would say that right now, pretty much the only thing you'll ever have to focus on this little section here is the word pages. And that's just to show you, to get to all the pages that you have on your site. This is what you'll click, but you can also click it down here, which is pretty much where I'll tell you to go most of the time, just to avoid touching anything in here. You never want to touch this theme, this widgets. You know, it's just best to kind of stay away from everything under this area here. Over here on Quick Press, we never use this. I would recommend that you not. We don't do any tutorials on how to use the Quick Press. Recent drafts, again, nothing you need to do there. This is just some general WordPress stuff. Feel free to look at it if you think it's not necessary, but we don't really do much with this. Plugins, these are just little ads for various plugins. Again, this is different, typical standard WordPress stuff. So this big chunk here that I'm highlighting with my mouse here is really nothing you'll ever do anything with the exception of this word pages. But again, I will really try to direct you over to this side because that's where I want you to click pages and not here anyway. So, and really, in essence, you could avoid any and all of this. The screen options, you rarely will have to do much with that at all, but we just kind of avoid this section altogether. What you'll really focus most of your time on is everything down the left-hand side. Now, a couple things just about the left-hand side. You see the word updates in this little 4 here. Basically, you can hover over it. There's a chance to do a theme update and plugin updates. I'm going to ask you never to update anything. And the reason it is one of the things that we do from a support standpoint is we manage all of the updates. And when plugins come up with new updates, and WordPress says, hey, we have a new update, there might be a time or two you come to your site and either right down here or somewhere up here it'll say, you're using WordPress 3.2, you need to upgrade to 3.3, update here, and it'll have you click a button. I would ask that you not do that. The reason is just because WordPress comes out with an update doesn't mean it always works. And so part of our support team, we go through and kind of vet out all of those updates. Sometimes updates work great, but then on WordPress, but then it messes up a plugin that hasn't kept up. So you have some things that are the potential problems. What we do is we go through a process of testing all those plugins and updates before we ever update anything ourselves. So just don't do anything with updates and you'll be fine. We manage that process. Now, as we go along here, just to how to maneuver this thing, you'll see here I've got these all exposed, but if you came to your site the first time, you might look something like this, and this is just give you some idea. Okay, I'm going to click back to the dashboard, and you may have all these things and think, well, I didn't see all the things that Donnie's looking at. Basically, these are collapsed menus, posts, media, links, pages. If you ever want to expand and see the drop-down menus, all you have to do is hover over it. There's an arrow there. You click on that arrow, and it shows all those different different sub-menus. So let's talk about these individually, and then we'll close this tutorial up. What do we mean by post? There is a difference in post and pages. WordPress, when it first came out, was typically a blogging software. If you wanted a website, you did it through Dreamweaver or something to that effect, or wrote it directly in HTML code. And if you wanted a blog, you did that maybe through a place like WordPress. But over the years, WordPress has taken on a tremendous web presence by building websites that have an integrated blog. And so that's the beauty of working with WordPress, is that you have that, and that's what you have on your site. We have a website, and even though it's not listed here right now, there'll be an option to have the word blog up there, and we already have. If you just type .com/blog, you would get to the blog. Okay, so what is the difference in blog post and page? The pages are all these pages you see here: a middle school page, an arts page, an athletics, a baseball page. These are all the pages on your site. That's why if you looked over here, you have 93 pages. But on a blog, we only have one post. So the blog post is what we wrote on the blog itself is a page. But the blog is made up of a series of posts. Right now, we only have one of those. It's kind of the welcome post. Hopefully, we'll add more posts from Jay and others as this thing progresses. But posts are what you write. So if I clicked on all posts, you would see that there is really one blog post. It's the welcome to the Panteo Christian blog. That's what we saw earlier when I typed up here .com/blog. So when I do that, you can see here that it says, should say welcome to the Panteo Christian blog. And let's see if my internet's running a little slower today. Well, you saw it earlier, so I won't spend the extra time going through that. Here we go. Welcome to Panteo Christian blog. That's what the title is listed here. It shows you the author, tags, cat, all these kind of stuff. And we'll get into all the details of what that is in another tutorial. If you ever want to add a new one, this is where you click Add New, and you go from there. Now, I want to go through every one of these because there will be another tutorial on how to do a blog post. But if I collapse those, media, this is the, and I'll do another tutorial on the media library. But basically, the library of your media. Media, as you can see from the icon here, could be any audio files. It could be photos. Primarily, your site is made up of a few audio files and mostly images. So every image that you see on the page, including PDFs, which are also media. So you have PDFs. Your biggest ones are images, and then the second one is PDFs, so all the forms that you've got on your site. So you have JPEGs, PNG files, PDF files. You may have a few audio files, but anything that you see on your page in this media library was either used to create your page, or it was used to kind of play around with things as we go along. You can see we were trying around something to do with Twitter. That didn't work. We could go back through and change out all of the images or delete the images that we aren't using anymore, but it's kind of pointless. Once they're in there, it doesn't take up a whole lot of extra space to have it in there. So we don't really ever delete images out that once we've uploaded. In a lot of cases, the reason is, let's say, for instance, this JV cheer picture, we ever uploaded that picture and then decided we didn't want it. If we ever decided later on we did want to use that picture, we wouldn't have to upload it again because it's already in our media library. So anyway, I'll do another tutorial on media library, but that's what this is. This is where you can see all the images as well as add new things on there. Links, we don't typically do a lot with the links here. This is not really something that you have to focus on. There's another reason to use that that's not being used on your particular site. Pages, this is the big one. This is, if you were to click on the word pages here, this shows you, again, the 93 published pages. We got one draft. I'm not sure what that is. But you can see all the different pages, and it's got the sub pages and all that stuff. You can see all these pages. And down here, you can navigate to the next page. As tons and tons of pages. So if you ever wanted to update a page, you just have to find the page listed here. And of course, we'll cover this, but also you can search for the pages here. So if I wanted to search for football, I don't have to go through this whole pages and find them. I just have to look for anywhere a page probably has mentioned something to do with football, and there it is. And then I could go and edit that page once it pulls up, so that I can, if I ever wanted to go and update that. Let's see, where's the football page? There it is. If I want to update the football page, all I have to do is click on that, and you're good to go from there. There we go. And there's all the stuff that made up the football page. And we'll talk about updating pages in another tutorial. All right, let's go back to the dashboard. Just like to have that up. All right, so we clicked on pages. Again, this is the same pages here, but it's also here. I would focus on this pages if you ever wanted to find them. Comments typically won't do much with that, although if they're, depending on how we set up the blog, we may want to have comments deleted at some point, or we may want to keep them on there. You can manage those that way. Here is just the theme that we used, and some of the things, some of this stuff we'll go into detail about how to change those out. Some of these you'll never use, and so we'll just kind of play that out. Appearance. This is, again, we were, some of this stuff you just won't ever touch. Some of it I would ask you that you not touch. Anything to do with the theme, just avoid that altogether. There will be some things you have to do with widgets, possibly menus, and in the editor, there's various places you'll use that. So this appearance one will be used quite often. Plugins, again, I mentioned earlier, we just don't want to touch anything to do with the plugins. Users, we have various users set up on this and various levels of capability. There's people that have administrative rights to do everything they want to on the site, and then there might be other people that have just contributor access where they can just write a blog or something like that. And we'll talk about, I don't know if we'll do another tutorial specifically on that, but that's where that will be. Various tools, some of these you'll use, some of these we won't. Settings, some of these you'll use. Again, some of these we won't necessarily use. Forms, I can't remember how many forms we have on your site, but if we did have a contact form, yeah, we don't even really have that on your page, but if we ever wanted to set up a form, we could do it that way. Gallery is also some place where if we wanted to do some slideshows or something like that, we could show you how to use that a little bit later. So that's just a quick overview of the dashboard. You can kind of see there's a lot of this stuff that you will never touch. So I just don't want you to be overwhelmed when looking at the dashboard to think that everything on here you have to use. You'll focus your time on just a few of these, and then obviously we're here to be as a backup support as well. Okay, that's the tutorial on the dashboard.